How's it going, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today for you I have, again, a little late, but I have this week's edition of Topic Tuesday. Actually kind of worked out a little bit better for me this week because today Bungie did a pretty big Taken King reveal of the tower and kind of went over some things that we can expect when Taken King finally hits on the 15th of September. Kind of explained some things that we had heard about a little bit more, kind of introduced some new stuff as well. So I wanted to take this time and do another Destiny update video for Topic Tuesday, just because, like I said, there was so much stuff that's been released, not only today, but the last week or so. So I wanted to get it all put together again for us. So before we go any further, I do have some Destiny gameplay here. It is a House of Wolves story mission with my Titan. I do apologize up front. I think I die a couple times in this video, so if it looks like I'm kind of sucking things up, it's probably because I was, especially during this gameplay. So with that said, we'll just go ahead and jump into everything. I kind of broke things down a little bit more to kind of make it a little easier to navigate and get through. But we'll go ahead and we'll jump into everything here. First of all, they mentioned that the overall idea, the overall feel of the Taken King is it's not just an expansion or a DLC. They actually, with the amount of content, the amount of updates, and everything that we're getting out of this, it's actually shaping up to be almost like its own separate game. So again, it's just reiterating the idea that they're truly taking to heart everything that's been said, everything that they want to do to help improve Destiny, and really making this the first huge step into improving this franchise. They also announced during the Game Informer interview just that the Dreadnought will indeed be a fully playable area that we'll be able to go to with its own missions, story missions, patrols, quests, strikes, and a raid. Everything's going to be in the Dreadnought, so the Dreadnought will be like everywhere else in the world that we can go to and explore. And then they also announced for the PvP that they will be getting new quests to go along with the bounties. Quests is a big thing now that is going to be introduced in the Taken King. A lot of it's going to be story driven for the PvE portion. PvP is just, again, more ways to get more stuff faster, and that's just really kind of an overall feeling or arc that they're taking with the Taken King. Is they're taking this idea of streamlining everything, making it less complicated, a little easier to understand what you're doing, why you're doing it, and what you're going to get from doing it, as well as saying, okay, it's easier to get stuff as well. So quests will be showing up as a PvP option now, and then there will be, I can't think of his name, the Guardian merchant for PvP. I don't play a lot of PvP, so I apologize, I don't really know his name, but he will be carrying a set of bounties each week. It'll rotate, it'll be new stuff. But if you finish all of his bounties, you'll get a Nightfall level reward. So again, just giving more gameplay, more options to the experience of the PvP or the PvP experience to get more stuff and gain more reputation, things like that. So we're going to go now just jump into the stuff that they talked about in the tower with the merchants and things like that. Big news, Vault is going to be going up to, I believe they said 72 spaces now. So quite a bit of space going to both Vault for weapons and armor and regular materials, and I believe the last one for like shaders and things like that, you can hold up to 34 or something like that it was. But weapons and all that stuff, you'll be able to hold up to 72, so that's pretty huge. They also announced that the Cryptarch will begin starting the Taken King. It'll begin to start selling legendary engrams, so that'll be interesting. And they did say that those engrams he will sell will turn into legendary stuff, so there's hopefully no worries with that. They announced that emblems, shaders, and ships will have their own little kiosks where you'll be able to go in there and purchase, or go in there and basically see the ones that you have, find out what you need to do to get the ones that you don't, which are going to function a lot like the exotic blueprint kiosks, which I'll get into here in a bit. Then they announced that going forward, you're no longer going to have to purchase the class item to be able to be part of the factions. You just basically declare allegiance to that faction, and then that faction has its own quests, its own bounties, its own things you have to do to be able to get it. Gain its reputation, increases your reputation. Um, Completing best or quests and bounties, you'll get faction packs, which will give you armor and weapons related to that faction. So it's just, again, really streamlining how to level up and what you're going to get for doing it. So that's kind of what they said about the merchants and the vendors. They also mentioned that the gunsmiths will have what they call field weapons. You'll be able to kind of almost rent a weapon, take it out in the field, complete some quests, and complete some things for him, and then you'll get these things called field orders, and you'll basically place an order for a weapon, and on Wednesdays when the new shipment comes in, he'll have your gun waiting for you when you get there. So that's kind of a cool little twist to the gunsmiths, making them more relevant, because they really weren't relevant in the base game after first few levels. So that was kind of the news on the merchants. They announced with the materials in the game that during the Game Informer interview, they had said that the materials got too convoluted, too confusing, too many things for too many different things you needed to level up. It's all going to get streamlined into one material, and it's just your upgrade material and what you're going to use to upgrade things. And it's just going to be a lot easier to get, a lot easier to understand what I need, when I need it to be able to level stuff up. Crucible and Vanguard marks are going away. They'll all merge into one thing called a Legendary mark, which you'll use to level stuff up. The nice thing with that is they did announce during the stream that there is a cap to the amount you can have at one time, so you can only have 200 at one time, but then there isn't a cap to how much you can gain in a week. They're removing that restriction. So if you spend 200 on a Tuesday, you can go get 200 more on a Wednesday if you want. They did mention that the old Crucible and Vanguard marks you'll be able to transition into accommodations, use those to level up your reputation. So again, continuing this idea they did with the House of Wolves, of making sure that old materials, old stuff you have in your inventory isn't something that's just going to take up space and just be a waste of time. It's actually going to be useful for you down the road. So they had that. The Game Informer interview talked about the 3 of Coins, which is a consumable you'll be able to purchase from Xur. And basically what that's going to do for you is it's going to increase the percentage rate for a weapon to drop after killing a boss. So if you have one of these consumables and you go on the raid or you go on the strike, and right before you kill a boss you pop that 3 of Coins, it's going to increase the chances you have to get an exotic weapon or a legendary weapon or something to drop useful off of that particular boss. And then lastly, as far as materials are concerned, they spoke about the Spark of Light. And basically what this is it is a consumable that everybody's going to get day one with Taken King. Every player is going to get it, whether you're new or old. And what it'll do is let's say you're brand new to Destiny and you have some friends who've been playing it for a while and you want to play some of the new stuff with them, but you're not at that level. You pop this Spark of Light and it automatically brings you to level 25, which is the base level you need to be able to do Taken King story missions to start that content. Or, vice versa, if you a player who's really focused on your hunter or your warlock and you want to try out a different class and you don't want to take the time to go back out and grind that guy back up to 34 or whatever the case may be, pop this Spark of Light and you're automatically at level 25. So it's only something you can use once on one character, but it kind of saves that time of grinding and everything like that. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. If it ends up something, most people either use it or they don't, I imagine. But then they talked about kind of some visual tweaks and some things that you'll be able to notice in the tower going forward. They basically changed it to where you can either be wearing your helmet or not wearing your helmet while you're in the tower, and then you can also change what weapon shows up on your back. And I know it's nothing that changes gameplay or anything like that, but I mean, a lot of people work hard to get these things, and you don't ever get to show them off. And sometimes you just want to show off that really cool weapon or helmet that you got. So you'll have the opportunity to do that now as well. And then that brings me lastly to the guns and armor, which was the part that I really kind of found the most intriguing with this reveal today. They talked about blueprints. I mentioned that earlier in the video with the shaders and ships and all that stuff. The exotic blueprints have their own kiosks down where the Vanguard vendors are. And basically what these are think of it almost kind of like a tech tree almost of year 2 and year 1 exotic weapons. So you get to see all of them, and then whichever ones you have, they'll be fully highlighted. If you don't, they'll be grayed out, and it just kind of tells you what they are. And then the nice thing is if you've ever accidentally that's such a hard word to say. You ever broke one down? You accidentally broke one down, you'll be able to go back and get it. You pay a little bit of glimmer, a little bit of materials, you get it back. But then if you also have, let's say you have the Bad Juju, year 1 Bad Juju, and Bad Juju is now a year 2 gun, and it's updated and it's different, you can actually go into that blueprint area, and because you had the original, purchase the year 2 version without actually having to go out and get it and hoping it drops again for you. So that's really cool. It's I think that's rewarding the player for their time and effort they put in originally, but then still again, making it feel like I have to do a little bit to get this, but not the full grind session I did originally. So it's a nice balance, I think, of rewarding somebody for their time and effort, but at the same time, keeping the idea of things do cost stuff in this world. They announced that class items and ghosts going forward will no longer be just aesthetic things. They'll actually have purpose and function. Both of them will provide buffs and perks, just specific perks, specific buffs. Different things, different class items, different ghosts do different things. One will help you gain more glimmer as you're in the world. Another one will point out spin metal in the world. It'll actually highlight it for you on the map so you can farm it faster. Things like that. And they also come with a light rating, a light score, which will factor into your overall light level, which I'll get into here in a bit. So again, just really, you would get these things and they'd sit there, you just throw them away, or you'd keep the one that looked the coolest, because they really serve no purpose, but you took the time in to get things like this. So it's nice to see that now even these things are going to become something that are useful to you within the game. With the ghosts, you'll be able to purchase those. You'll be able to find some out in the world, but you'll be able to purchase them from the speaker and the PvP vendors. You'll have PvP specific ghosts that you can use while playing PvP as well. They also announced a bunch of new perks and bonuses for weapons and armor that weren't in year 1, so they'll have different abilities and different perks that you'll get out of weapons. They announced a function called Infuse for weapons. Basically what that is if you have a bunch of legendary weapons that you're not using and you really like for example, you really like your Red Death or your Thorn or whatever the case may be, you go in there and you want to keep using it, but it's starting to get overpowered by some of the newer weapons and things like that, or the enemies are bigger, have more health and you're not doing as much damage. You can go in there and infuse this weapon with legendaries and stuff you're not using, and it'll help beef up that weapon to bring it back up to where it needs to be for damage and everything else. So again, waste not, be not. Everything that you have, everything that you find, you'll be able to use it in some shape or fashion. You're not going to be punished with just useless stuff if you're going to go out and continue to grind for things. And then lastly, they just kind of really went into the light level a little bit more, and talked about how that was going to function. And basically what the light level is it's your overall damage output now going forward, and it takes everything that you have equipped at that time, it takes the average number of that. So let's say everything you have is 190. Your average is 190. That's your damage output, and it's going to be that number is going to be tied to different story missions, different quests, and things like that. It'll be recommended light level, whatever, to do this. But that's basically how light's going to function going forward. So again, guys, there was quite a bit of information that this reveal talked about. So, I'm sure it's going to be up on YouTube here in the next day or two. I highly recommend you going out and taking this time to watch it if you can. Just to kind of see things, how they work. They gave you really good visual representations of everything. They showed off the kiosks. They showed off the exotic blueprints and things like that. So, I'm really excited. I think this is going to be something that's going to bring a lot of players back to Destiny, including myself. So, with that said, guys, thank you very much for your time, and I will catch you guys on the next video.